All right, it's a lovely Saturday afternoon in this park-like setting, and I thought I'd do a walk and talk. Um, I'm not going to carry this phone the whole time. Maybe I should. But just in case, I got two crumpled up pieces of paper so I can put this phone in my breast pocket. So I don't have to carry it the whole time. All right, so let's take a little walk. What I would say is, where do I begin with this? I'm over 40. And when I was a boy, they didn't diagnose things like Asperger's. And autism basically just meant, retarded but not Down syndrome. And on paper, everything was fine. I'd go to school, I'd go to class, whatever. And academically, there were no problems. But if we're only using academics as the litmus test, something else is being missed. So look at it like that. But I've recently been diagnosed with a whole slew of things. Autism, the other ones, PTSD, ADHD, minor alcohol abuse disorder, something else, GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, something to that effect. And it was a long report to go to this place, take a whole battery of tests. It was like, I think I went once a week for like 3 or 4 sessions, a couple hours of this testing. And I was afraid at one point because the lady who diagnosed me, she was actually fairly friendly. She was a very nice lady. And she was about 10 years older than I am. She was probably early 50s. And she was telling me there's something called NVLD, which stands for Nonverbal Learning Disorder. That doesn't mean, you're not speaking. It means the problem doesn't have to do with verbiage. You can speak fine, but there's something else that's missing. And NVLD kind of scared me because it sounds like autism without being autism. I remember I said to this lady, I said, because I was always better with words and writing than I was with mathematics. And I said, it's almost like autism and NVLD are the same thing. The only difference being that, one is more verbal, one is more mathematical. And if they merged all these different diagnoses into one thing called autism, like used to have Asperger's, used to have PTD, what's it called? PDD, NOS, high functioning autism. They took all this and lumped it into one. And also classic autism. They took it all and lumped it into one big thing just called autism spectrum disorder, to merge them all together. I said, NVLD sounds like it should be a candidate. It should be on that list. It's like, it's kind of defeating the purpose. Why would you merge all the autistic diagnoses together, but not include NVLD? Maybe in 10 years, they'll merge it. But fortunately, by the grace of God, I was not given NVLD, which you can't get neat bucks for. I was given autism, which I've suspected. I'll tell you, like I said, when I was a kid, never heard of Asperger's, and autism just meant, it now means classical autism. It meant, the retardation. You're retarded, basically, but not Down syndrome, classic autism. When I was this was sometime in the mid-2000s, when I was in my mid-20s, I went on the computer, I typed in, no friends, never had a girlfriend, can't hold a job, socially unsuccessful, blah, 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 all this stuff. And what came up, this was like circa, 2006 or whatever year it was, 06, 07. And that's when I first learned about Asperger's. At the time, it was still a separate diagnosis. And I went to these websites. I think one of them was called Wrong Planet. I think that one's still around. Other ones. And it seemed like, although I wouldn't say, we're all different, the general gist seemed to speak to me. There's a lot of people saying, man, I just don't get it. How do all these normies, how do they all interact with each other, make it seem natural? And me, I come along, do the exact same things, and don't have the same outcome. It's like I can't click with people. I can't, get along with people. I can't seem to just naturally mesh with them the way they all seemingly do with each other. And so I've suspected autism or Asperger's since the mid-2000s, when I was in my mid-20s, and it took like 15 years, but finally I was able to get a diagnosis. And the diagnosis is, it's good to have, but I called this lady back. I know she's busy. I don't want to impress upon her or anything like that, but She gave me this fucking 18-page report. There's all kinds of shit. Oh, here's the test you took, this, that. It's almost like writing an essay for the teacher. You're supposed to throw together a couple paragraphs about this, a couple paragraphs about that. Also, what do you call it? The whole write a conclusion paragraph in different sections. It almost seems like the report itself was, I would say, too bloated. It was too bloated a report. It didn't need all this detail in it. And there's some bullshit section about suggestions. What can someone like this do? Well, one of the things she recommended was you go to like, it's kind of like if you've ever been in a psych ward, when you get released, you go to like outpatient stuff. She said, effectively, this is like outpatient without the psych ward. So it's the same thing as like outpatient, but for someone who wasn't a psych ward. And I'm like, I don't need these suggestions. All I really want is the piece of paper. Because, you know, it's like I always say the church, I call it like the church, the medical practice, you know, the church of modern medicine. It's like a religion. You know, you can suspect you have autism. It's meaningless. You need that official piece of paper from the magistrate, the indulgence saying that, yes, you are officially, you know. So, getting kind of crowded. It is Saturday, so, right, these people looking up at me. It's kind of funny. I'll tell you in a minute. So I'm just amazed at it all, you know? How, yeah. Right. I'm still holding the phone because I wanted to put it in my breast pocket, but I am still very high in Hib. It's like, how do you go around talking to yourself? I don't know if it was the way I was raised or just me in general. It's I feel like everyone's looking at me. Hey, I'm self-conscious. You say people don't care, but these people look at me like I'm a fucking weirdo. I admire people who can walk around. They mog me. If they're so low in Hib, they can just talk and bullshit and don't seem to give a shit. I admire that. But how do you do it? Plus, I really don't like any more attention than I need. I don't like attention on me when it's not necessary. And someone talking out loud is going to draw attention more than someone just quietly walking by. So maybe I get used to this. Maybe this is a good exposure therapy. But I was talking mainly about the diagnosis, the recent diagnosis, and what else? I've had this diagnosis, so I see this shrink, unrelated to all this. This is the shrink I see. And all virtual. Some old Jew, and just the reason I'm seeing him is, hold on a sec. Oh, no problem. She did thank me. The reason I'm seeing him, it's been about a year now, is just to have more literature. If I want to like apply for neat bucks, which I ultimately do, I need more references to put down. So I'm talking to this shrink. He's not much help, but I do like the fact that he's this old Jew. He's like 72 years old. So I'm a bit more free with him. I probably say things to him and get more confrontational and say, like, I'll sometimes use the N-word, or I'll say faggot, or I'll say all these things sort of in the heat of the moment. And the guy will say, oh, you shouldn't say that, but he doesn't seem the least bit offended. So that's kind of cool. What else? But I just need more. Let me regroup and figure out where I'm going. The trail continues. I'm going to put this in my breast pocket. I'm going to put these two crumpled pieces of paper behind the phone in the pocket to sort of prop it and keep it focusing in one direction. Don't want it pointing at the sky too much or to the right too much. I want it to be somewhat straight. All right, and now there's less people, less normies. I can probably walk and talk openly going this way. So gotta get over my inhibition, but at the same time, I just like the attention. But so I'm seeing an old Jew psychologist, virtual, on the internet, just for the sake of having someone else to put down if I apply for neat bucks. And I've been seeing him for over a year. It was since February of 2023, and I would tell him, look, man, I think I have autism, I have Asperger's, and tell him all these life stories, all this crazy shit that's happened to me, which I want to share with you guys. But he gave me the whole, oh, you seem fine to me. You seem very functional. You're very articulate. I think part of it too is, they talk about how autism can manifest differently. And he says, I have a couple of people. I can't tell you about private clients, but I can tell you this. I got two people who I'm not sure if he thinks they're autistic or if they've officially been diagnosed. But he says, they're nothing like you. They'll just come on. They'll kind of sit there. I'll have to prod them to get information out of them. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, these guys are smart. Because he said to me once, he doesn't take anyone who doesn't want to be there. He doesn't, like, if like a mother or a calls up and says, my kid's autistic, or even a spouse, like, hi, my wife and I are having problems, but my wife doesn't want to go through. He won't take anyone unless they actually consent to it. So I said, well, these guys, these two autistic guys that you're comparing me to, even though they just sit there and say nothing, like, why the hell are they here? They must have, on their own accord, decided to come to you. So I'm thinking these guys probably know, gotta see this asshole, maybe for a year. This asshole, because they're clearly, they're playing him. The asshole can write a report saying, oh yeah, these guys are really autistic. They just sit there and they don't talk. And by doing that, these guys will probably get neat bucks. I should, if I can go back in time, I would have done it that way. But I wasn't diagnosed when I first started seeing him. I started seeing him in February of 23. I was diagnosed, I think it was finally in September, it was like August, September, over this past summer. I got diagnosed at a neuropsychologist. Very, very lucky. Very few places will do diagnosing for adults. There are some, places that might do it out of pocket if you want to pay them $5 or $6 grand and hope to Christ they give you a diagnosis, because it's not there's no guarantee. There's that option, but in addition to that, these private play places, most actual neuropsychologists will say, well, we can diagnose children. What's going on over there? We can diagnose children, but oh no, you're an adult. Oh, we can't do anything about that. But I was able to find this lady who took my insurance and said, yes, I do these diagnoses. And I'm kind of babbling and rambling. What was I going with this? People might be intimidated by these like hour-long videos. Maybe I should cut this up, stop it every so often, have like 10-minute chunks. Especially if I want to stop and collect my thoughts. But no, I don't want to have a walk that's, I want an unbroken walk, continuous. So anyway, I started seeing this old Jew psychologist before I went for the neuropsychological exam. And he kept playing the whole game of, I don't believe you have, it's amazing. I don't know where traffic. He kept playing this whole game. I don't believe you have autism. You seem too on the ball, and comparing you to these two other guys I have as clients, and you don't seem anything like them. So no, I don't believe you're autistic. We'll have to wait till we get that report from the neuropsychologist. I said, all right. So we got the report, and I ended up faxing it to him. So and it says, yes, according to her professional opinion, I am autistic, plus ADHD, plus PTSD, plus GAD, plus alcohol abuse. Was there something else? Then all of a sudden his tune changed. It went from, we need to wait till the neuropsych. Like I said, it's the Church of Medicine. We got to wait for the official, the holy script from, the higher bishops before we get on board with this autism thing. And then when the high priestess neuropsychologist said that, yes, he has autism, all of a sudden this old kike's tune changed. Didn't get better. He went from saying, let's wait for the report to, well, I'm not sure I fully buy this report. I'm not sure I fully believe it. And it's like, well, motherfucker, what's the point of getting a fucking diagnosis if you're just going to throw it out the window? And that's the thing. I was talking with my brother about this. When this happened, I said, man, my old kike shrink doesn't, he kept pushing for this report. And then when it didn't come back with his favor, he decided to sort of dismiss it. But had it come back in his favor, had this neuropsychologist lady said, I don't think he has autism, then the old psychologist would be like, see, I told you didn't have it. So if it was in his favor, all of a sudden the document is holy and unquestionable. When it's not in his favor, well, just a piece of paper. And it's like, I knew I was autistic long before, like 15 years before this diagnosis, or Asperger's. And I remember it was in my early 30s, and they were talking about merging Asperger's and the others all together into one big thing. So with the internet, online, I've been aware of these things since like, I don't know, like I said, decade and a half. Whether I have a piece of paper or not, I know the truth. But it's you guys, you medical professionals who insist on in the bureaucracy. So I got the piece of paper, and it's arbitrary. We pick and choose. Anyway, in addition to that, I also see a psychiatrist every so often because I'm trying to get Jew pills. I don't really care. I'll get them, just try them. Why not? And plus, it's one other person to put down. See, that's why when I look into neat bucks, I know people are very secretive and private. How'd you get diagnosed? And some people got diagnosed without going the attorney route, or not diagnosed. They got approved by Social Security, well, you're just by dumb luck. But then it's like onion layers. You start finding out some of these people, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, some of these people put down like 30 different references for doctors and shit. I don't have that. I was never in some nut house. I might end up in the nut house at some point. So far, in over 4 decades of life, I've not been committed yet. Not sent off to Bedlam yet. But, so who do I have to go with? I got the old Jew psychologist. I got the psychiatrist. It's more of a psychiatrist agency. Again, same thing, online, virtual. It's a different person each time. It's every few months. It's basically, how you feeling? You want to try this pill? I'll send the. I do like that about the modern world we're living in. So I can go there in person and getting a paper prescription and going in person. They just on the computer they send it to the pharmacy and I can pick it up when it's filled. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, so I got the psychologist, the psychiatrist agency, this neuropsych who diagnosed me. And I just have like a regular doctor who, just a regular PCP, whatever it is, personal care physician. So I don't have like 30 different references to put down, just by looking at that without even contacting those people. If someone has that many legitimate references, it's much more easy for the Social Security Administration to say, yes, this guy is clearly a nutcase. But with me, it's only a handful of people. And the old Jew psychologist who I've been seeing now for a year and change, I think you have too much on the ball. The whole point of therapy is to improve. And I had mentioned, sort of in passing, he brings it up more. I mentioned it once or twice in passing. He holds over my head. I said, it'd be nice to get Social Security disability. I've paid into it. I've been working, since all my adult life. I've been working for over 20 years now. It'd be nice to get, the point of therapy is to improve. I got to improve you. I said, well, think of it like a safety net. Let's say I do a lot of this, probably out of breath, all the vaping, or out of saliva. Isn't that nice? Nice little dammed up creek. Let me take a quick look, why not? We got a nice little dammed up creek. If you can see it. Nice old house here, old mill. That's nice stone. This is all very nice, very quaint. Could be nothing spectacular, but the local town or county, you can put it as one of the pictures of why this is such a wonderful place to live. I wasn't planning to go this way, but I'm glad I did, because I can speak much more freely here. That trail with all those normies, I don't know how some people do it. They just walk and talk, holding a camera up in a walking stick, no less. Hats off to them. Maybe I'll get there someday. I'm too self-conscious, plus I'm just too thinking about them. But I was going somewhere with all this. I said to my shrink, my psychologist, 72-year-old old Jewish guy, I said, listen, suppose you're a trapeze artist. You're up there, you're an acrobat. You got to improve, walking the tightrope, doing the flips and whatnot. So in the meantime, while you're practicing improving, you've got that safety net below you. And so I tried to phrase it that way. I said, listen, the two aren't mutually exclusive. He keeps saying, well, if you say you need Social Security disability, that must mean you're giving up. It's all over. I said, no. You can give me Social Security disability. I'll still come see you. You can help me improve. It'll be the safety net. Just, God forbid, another job goes wrong or someone tries to attack me again. We'll have that security blanket, but I can still come see you and try to, quote unquote, improve on my terminal death sentence known as autism. And he went from one extreme to the other. He went from, I don't think you have autism, I can improve you, I can help you improve or whatever, to, there's nothing I can do for you. I don't handle this kind of stuff. I said, well, you kept trying to convince me I don't have autism. Now you know. You're just copping out. Not that I expect him to actually do anything. That's not the point. The point is watching him in action. I said to him for the time being, because I still want, that's my notes, I said, he said to me, if you really want Social Security disability, contact a lawyer. I couldn't help you. And I said, listen, I've actually called some lawyers for the free consultations, and wish I had taken better notes. I called like a whole shitload of people. I must have called like over a dozen places, and some places said flat out, we're not going to take this. I don't like doing mental cases. We prefer physical. Others said, well, we still think you're too young. We like to go 50 plus. Others said, all right, we'll consider it, but first you should do this or that. One guy did suggest, dump this shrink, get another one. And even the shrink himself is like, maybe if you found someone more lenient, but I have to start over. But what all these free consultations these lawyers told me is, first thing you got to do is you apply on your own. When you get rejected, call us back. And you list anyone and everyone. Apparently, if I understand correctly, one of these lawyers was telling me there's some kind of electronic online database that you as the applicant, you don't have access to it, but the doctors, the lawyers, the courts, I think it's run by Social Security, and that's where they upload all their notes. So the lawyer taking the case can see the doctor's notes. The doctor can upload his notes to this website. Social Security sees the whole thing. That's what I was told. You, the individual, have no access to this. So I told my old shrink, who kept trying to, almost like he was grabbing his collar. I call them collar grabbers. Like, picture you take your finger, put it on your collar, you start pulling it nervously. He wasn't literally doing that, but that's how he came across. It's like, oh, I couldn't help you with SSDI. That's beyond me. You have to get a lawyer. I said, well, I called the lawyers. They said the first thing you actually do is apply, and one of the first people they talk to are the medical professionals. And that seemed to spook him a bit. I guess he's some old man who wants to whittle away until he decides to finally retire. Sit there, talk to mostly, there's one term I did like, because I sit there once, I challenged him. I said, listen, I get the impression most of your clients are just, they come on, oh, I have a great life. I'm a housewife and I'm married. My husband's great. We live in a nice house and the kids, but sometimes I feel like my mother and I don't get along. I remember when I was a little girl, she didn't like that dress I wore, and I really like that dress, but my mother threw it out. Like stupid shit like this. And he can just sit there and fucking collect a paycheck, listening to stupid shit like this. He's not really, doing anything, not really accomplishing or improving anything, but most of it just sits there. And I called him out on that, and he said, well, he didn't fully admit to it. He goes, yeah, it's what you call the worried well. I like that term, the worried well. People who want to see a shrink, but don't really have anything to complain about. And I guess it's easy for him to sit there and collect his shekels, but I'm like, okay, now I said to him, I even compared him. I said, listen, I'm not religious. I know you're this old Jew, but I said, did you ever see the movie The Exorcist? He goes, yeah, and he seemed nervous, like, where is this going? I said, no, this is more of an allegory. It's like, you're an old man, you've been doing this for 30 plus years. I don't want some chick who's younger, some like a freaking 27-year-old chick or some Negro or just something like that. I want the professional. You're going to perform an exorcism. The local priest can't handle it. You call in the exorcist, the old wise man who specialized in this. And in a way, for the first time in your career, the age of 72 years old, you're finally being challenged to take on a case that is unique and is unusual. He's even said there's no one really like you. And he doesn't mean it, I wouldn't take it as an insult or a compliment. It's more observational. Like I said, in all your clients, you're anyone who's comparable to me, or you go, oh no, truthfully, there's really no one like you. And he would suggest things like things I can't afford, like out of pocket, like stupid shit, like you go on the internet yourself and say, how do you get past trauma or whatever? And you might see these new fads, EMDR, or try some ketamine. So he'll suggest these things to me. I'd be like, well, do you yourself do if you want to try it with me, fine. If you want to prescribe me ketamine, I'll consider it. And his response is, oh, no, I don't do it. I'm just, so what you want on Google? I didn't need you to tell me that. So yeah. Anyway, there's some dude looking at me here. I don't know why. This is what I'm saying when I bring in these sort of strange, hello. He did wave, that was nice of him. I bring in these strange, he's a nice guy, nice old man, old white guy. Maybe me in another 20 to 30 years if I live that long. Where's I going with this? So, I'm sort of all over the place. Let's turn more into a discussion of my shrink. But I want to keep with him for now. I've come this far, I've told him stories. I want to keep with him for a little while. So watch, with my luck, he'll suddenly retire or he'll drop dead. I go to log on one day and I see someone like his wife or someone saying, oh, I'm so sorry. The doctor has passed away. I go, shit. So if I'm going to use him as a potential reference. And how does that work too? Let's say you're seeing someone, and you want to apply for disability, and you go to apply for disability, and like several of the people you referenced are now dead. How do they access the records? Who would have the records? It's effectively like it doesn't count. That's nice. This is a bamboo stand. And I want to stop and take a look at some bamboo. All right. So, where am I trying to go with this video? What's the point of it? Discuss myself, discuss my thoughts, discuss some ideas. Now, let me stop it here.